Welcome, and let your breathing ease as we begin a journey through one of nature's most astonishing feats. Tonight we follow how a living body can be remade entirely between its youth and its adulthood. Metamorphosis is the word for that profound change, when a creature born as one kind of being slowly becomes another. Few stories in biology are stranger, and few are more fitting to carry you toward rest. You have surely seen it without naming it. A caterpillar, plump and earthbound, disappears into a case and later opens into a butterfly, as though two different animals shared a single life. That single life belongs to one creature all along. The wings folded into flight were always waiting, coated and gathering, inside the small body that once inched along a leaf. Down in a pond, another version of the same wonder unfolds. A tadpole, all tail and water, grows legs and lungs and steps ashore transformed into a frog. Nothing about these changes is quick or forced. They arrive over days or weeks, guided by hormones that whisper through the body and tell each tissue when it is time to become something new. It would be easy to think such marvels belong to a few rare animals. In truth, transformation is scattered generously across the living world, more common than a resting mind might guess. Among insects alone, countless kinds are built twice, first as a hungry larva, later as a winged adult, the two forms so unlike that they seem to belong to separate stories. The amphibians tell their own version, rewriting a swimmer into a walker. What breathed through gills in water learns to breathe air, and what pushed through the shallows learns to leap. Even the sea keeps these secrets. Beneath the surface, drifting young things no larger than dust will one day settle and reshape themselves into crabs, sea stars, and gliding fish. There is something restful in knowing this remaking takes time. The body cannot hurry itself. It feeds on old tissue, recycling what it once was into the shape of what it will become. Much of this transformation happens hidden away, sealed inside a case or cloaked beneath the water, unseen by any eye until the finished creature is ready to step into the light. Think of it as a kind of deep repose from which a new self emerges. Cells already present in the young body awaken and grow, becoming the wings and eyes of the adult to come. Across the nights ahead, we will visit these transformations one by one, lingering over caterpillars and frogs, over beetles and dragonflies, over the strange young forms that ride the ocean currents. We will learn how a body knows when to change, how old tissues are recycled into new ones, and how a creature can carry a memory across so complete a remaking. Different creatures answer the pull to change in their own time, some in weeks, some across a single warm season. We will follow each at the pace its own body keeps, never fast. Let the idea rest lightly in your mind that growing up for so many creatures means becoming almost unrecognizable, and that such change is not loss but a gentle unfolding. So we begin here at the edge of many transformations, in no hurry to arrive. Breathe out, let the world soften, and we will follow these becomings together night after night. Across the animal world, growing up follows two great paths. Some creatures are remade entirely through a resting stage, while others simply enlarge, step by step, into the shape they will always keep. The first path is called complete metamorphosis, and it is the more dramatic of the two. A young body is taken apart and rebuilt into something that scarcely resembles the creature it once was. Think of a caterpillar. It is a soft, wingless eater built for one task alone, and nothing about it hints at the winged flyer waiting, folded and unseen inside its story. When the caterpillar has grown enough, it stops eating and settles into stillness. From its final molt emerges a chrysalis, a hardened case where the great remaking will take place unseen. Within that case, much of the old body loosens into a nutrient-rich fluid, yet clusters of cells called imaginal discs, present all along, serenely begin to grow the wings, legs, and eyes to come. This is not erasure, but reorganization, an astonishing act of rebuilding. The larva was never a blank slate. The blueprint for the adult had been carried inside it from the very start. In time, the case opens, and a butterfly steps out with crumpled wings. It pumps fluid through their veins to unfold them, then waits for them to dry before its first flight. Butterflies, beetles, bees, and flies all travel this route. Egg, larva, pupa, adult, each a separate chapter, with the resting stage as the hinge on which the whole transformation turns. The second path is gentler and more gradual, called incomplete metamorphosis. Here there is no pupa, no sealed case, no dissolving. The young simply grow toward adulthood in careful, visible steps. Picture a grasshopper newly hatched from its egg. It is a nymph, a tiny version of its parents, already recognizable, already carrying the same essential form it will wear for life. The nymph looks much like the adult, only smaller and, at first, without working wings. Small wing pads sit folded on its back, waiting to grow larger with every molt to come. To grow, it molts, shedding an exoskeleton that has become too tight. Each molt reveals a slightly larger nymph, a little closer to full size, wing pads swelling with every change. There is no single moment of astonishing rebirth here, only a steady series of small renewals. The grasshopper you meet at the end was always visible in the one that began. With a final molt, the wings unfurl to their full span, and the adult stands complete. The journey was a gradual unfolding rather than a hidden, sealed remaking within a case. Dragonflies and cicadas follow this same unhurried route, changing bit by bit without ever pausing inside a chrysalis. Their becoming happens in the open, one shed skin at a time. Neither route is better than the other. Each is an ancient answer to the same puzzle of growing up, and different insect families simply settled on different solutions long, long ago. Neither route is better than the other. Each is an ancient answer to the same question of how to grow. Different lineages found different ways, and every way has carried life onward. Whichever road a creature takes, it arrives at a body fitted for the life ahead. Let those two paths wind quietly through your thoughts now, and let them lead you down toward sleep. Every transformation you can imagine begins here, with something almost too small to notice. A single egg resting on a leaf, holding a life that will change its shape more than once. A mother insect chooses her spot with unhurried care, often setting her eggs on the very plant her young will one day eat, so that hunger and home wait together from the first moment. Think of that choice as a kind of foresight written into instinct. She will never meet her offspring, yet she leaves them exactly where they need to be on the leaf that becomes their world. The egg itself is a marvel of packaging, a shell thin enough to yield and strong enough to shelter, sealing a droplet of possibility away from wind and weather. Within that shell, cells begin to divide and arrange themselves, and an embryo takes form, folding from a shapeless start into the earliest outline of a creature that does not yet exist. This is the true opening of the long story, the stage before crawling, before wings, before any hint of the many bodies still to come. It asks nothing of the world but time. No struggle shows on the surface, yet inside the shell chemistry and heredity are busy at work, arranging cells with a care no eye outside could ever see. Some eggs arrive in tidy clusters, glued in neat rows along a stem, while others are scattered singly, each one a separate wager placed on a separate leaf. Their colors vary more than you might guess, from pale pearl to amber to a deep bottle green, and many are ribbed or dimpled like tiny sculpted seeds. Warmth guides the pace within. In gentle heat, the embryo hurries along its path, while in cooler air the same becoming slows, unspooling across days that feel in no rush to end. Not only insects begin this way. A frog trails ribbons of jelly through still water, each glistening bead cradling a dark speck that will one day swim, then walk upon land. Fish tuck their eggs among stones or weeds, and inside the clear casing you can sometimes glimpse a pair of dark eye spots taking shape long before the little body is anywhere near ready. What unites them all is this humble start, a compact of shell and yolk and instruction, carrying everything a small life needs to build the first version of itself. The yolk is a quiet pantry, a store of nourishment folded in beside the growing embryo, feeding the earliest cell divisions until the young are strong enough to feed themselves. From outside, an egg seems to do nothing at all, yet within its walls the plan of a whole creature is being written, cell by cell, in the quiet language of growth. Everything the young one needs is already tucked inside, a full set of instructions waiting for the right warmth or season before the first movement can begin. When the moment arrives, the wall softens, and the tiny occupant works its way free, and the long chain of transformations that will follow takes its very first deliberate step. For now, let the egg simply stay where it lies, keeping its secret a little longer, holding a future that will open in its own time, long after this night has passed into morning. When the egg finally opens, a tiny larva slips out into the world, and its first act is often to turn and eat the very shell it hatched from. From this earliest moment, the caterpillar carries one purpose above all others, and that purpose is to feed, to gather, and to grow toward the change ahead. It is a small green engine of appetite, mouth parts working steadily along the leaf's edge, chewing crescent after crescent from the tissue that surrounds it. Everything about this body is built for eating, from the strong biting jaws to the long looping gut that runs the whole length of the larva. You could think of the caterpillar as a mouth with a body attached, a creature whose days are spent almost entirely in the simple work of feeding. The leaf it was born on becomes its first meal, and often its whole nursery, a green world it will slowly consume from within. Hour after hour it chews across the surface, resting a moment, then returning to feed, the rhythm as steady as breath beneath the leaves. All this eating is not restless hunger, but quiet preparation, for each bite becomes stored energy, tucked away as fuel for the great remaking still to come. Deep inside, the larva is packing away reserves of fat and protein, building a hidden fortune it will spend later on wings and legs and eyes. Because its outer skin cannot stretch, the caterpillar outgrows itself again and again, shedding the tight old covering to reveal a larger, softer body beneath. Between these sheddings, the larva grows so swiftly that it can swell to many times the size it was when it first crept from the egg. Some caterpillars grow so much between hatching and their final molt that their tiny bodies swell many times over, transformed almost entirely by the leaves they have eaten. What it eats it becomes leaf tissue reworked into muscle and skin, so that the small crawler of a week ago would hardly know the swollen larva now stretched along the stem. As it feeds, its colors and patterns may shift between one shedding and the next, the growing larva trying on new shapes as it goes. There is quiet purpose in this single focus, for the caterpillar's later change draws on all it has gathered now, shaping the fat and protein into wings and legs and eyes. Even the pauses feel purposeful, the caterpillar going motionless upon a stem while its body catches up with all that it has taken in. Slowly, the appetite that ruled every waking hour begins to ease, and the larva grows restless, sensing that its time of pure feeding is ending. For now it feeds and swells beneath the shade of the leaves, gathering all it will need, drawing a little nearer each day to the profound change that awaits at the end of its appetite. Imagine wearing your skeleton on the outside, a stiff casing that shields you from the world. This is how an insect is built, its whole body wrapped in armor it cannot expel. That outer shell, its exoskeleton, gives the larva shape and protection. Yet it holds a quiet problem within its strength, for a rigid case can never stretch to fit a body that keeps growing. So the caterpillar faces a puzzle every living thing must solve differently. It must grow larger, and its skin simply will not grow along with it, no matter how it tries. The answer is molting, one of the oldest solutions in the animal world. When the old skin grows too tight, the larva sheds it whole and steps free into room to spare. Long before that moment arrives, something remarkable is already underway beneath the surface. A fresh, larger skin is forming without a sound against the inside of the old one, folded and waiting. Between the two layers, the body loosens the bonds that held them fastened together. Special fluids work along that hidden seam, easing the outgrown shell away from the new growth beneath it. When the hour comes, the caterpillar stops feeding and holds itself remarkably still. Muscles begin to pulse, pushing fluid forward through the body to build pressure against the aging skin. That gathering pressure presses outward until the old casing can bear it no longer. A thin split opens along the back, usually where the shell is weakest, and the release begins. Through that widening seam, the larva slowly works itself forward and free. The old skin peels back like a garment slipped from the shoulders, inch by inch, until nothing holds it. What emerges is soft and pale, its new skin not yet hardened into armor. In these tender minutes, the creature is exposed, and it rests while the fresh casing firms and darkens. The old shell is left behind, a ghostly, hollow shape that still holds the outline of who lived within it. Even the linings of its breathing tubes are shed away. Freed of its tightness, the larva can now expand into the roomy new skin, gulping air or water to stretch itself larger before that surface sets around its grown body. This is not a single event, but a rhythm repeated across the growing season. Again and again the caterpillar outgrows itself and sheds, each time larger than before. The stages between these sheddings have a name, instars, each one a chapter of the larval life. A caterpillar may pass through several before its final childhood form is reached. Each molt is a small vulnerability, a pause when the armor is briefly gone. Perhaps this is why so many larvae tuck themselves somewhere sheltered before letting the old skin go. Molting is steered by hormones drifting through the body. Molting hormone, called ecdysone, signals the time to shed a new skin, while juvenile hormone peacefully decides whether the larva stays a larva. There is a quiet wonder in a creature that sheds its outer self to keep on growing. Each abandoned skin is a small price, and paying it is what lets the larva become more. And so the larva changes shape again and again, each new skin roomier than the last, carrying the same small life forward toward a transformation far greater than any shedding it has known. Every transformation begins not with a single command, but with a balance, a conversation between chemicals that decides, moment by moment, whether a body should stay young or begin to change. For a long while, one messenger keeps the larva as it is. Biologists call it juvenile hormone, and its presence is a kind of permission to remain a child. While that youth-keeping signal stays high, each molt simply makes a larger version of the same creature. The body grows, sheds its skin, and grows again, holding its familiar shape. There is a second messenger too, the molting hormone, which rises like a tide to trigger each shedding of the outgrown exoskeleton. It says only that it is time to molt. The meaning of a molt depends entirely on what accompanies it. Molting hormone sets the change in motion, while juvenile hormone whispers how far that change is allowed to go. As the larva feeds and grows across its early life, the youth-keeping hormone slowly ebbs, its levels falling molt by molt until they can no longer hold the old form in place. When juvenile hormone finally fades and molting hormone surges without it to answer, the balance tips, and the next molt becomes something entirely new rather than merely larger. That tipping point is a threshold crossed inside the blood, a chemical decision made in fluid and tissue long before any outward sign of the coming transformation appears. These two hormones work like a slow scale rather than a switch, one pan sinking as the other lifts, and the exact moment they come level decides what the next shed skin will hold. In insects, these signals originate in tiny glands near the brain, which release their messengers into the hemolymph so the whole body can read the same instruction at once. Amphibians keep a simpler clock tuned to a single thyroid hormone whose rising level tells a tadpole when to reabsorb its tail and reshape itself toward the land. Because that one hormone governs so much, an amphibian's whole schedule can shift with it, the change hurried by warmth or held back when the water runs cold. The axolotl shows what happens when the thyroid signal never rises. It keeps its gills and its youthful shape for life, healthy and complete, simply never told to transform. Give that same salamander a touch of thyroid hormone, and the old instruction arrives at last, coaxing a land-dwelling adult from the form that would have stayed forever young. Remarkably, the body waits upon its own chemistry, changing only when its internal hormone levels reach the exact balance that makes the leap ahead both possible and safe to take. Temperature, daylight, and how well the creature has fed all feed into these hormonal thresholds, so the great change is timed to arrive when the world is ready to receive it. So the signal to change is truly a slow shift in balance, and once juvenile hormone fades enough, the very next molt can carry the body into a wholly new form. And once that inner balance finally crosses, the stage is set. The caterpillar will molt one last time, shedding its skin to reveal the resting pupa where its new body takes shape. When the caterpillar has eaten its fill and grown as large as its skin allows, something in it shifts, and for the first time it turns away from the leaf. It stops feeding entirely now, and instead of searching for more food, it begins wandering, restless in a way it has never been, looking for one particular thing. What it seeks is shelter, a hidden underside of a leaf or the shade of a sturdy stem, somewhere tucked away from wind and weather where it can hang undisturbed for days. There it spins a small button of silk and grips it with the tiny hooks at its rear, then lets its whole body swing free, curled into a downturned question mark. For hours it simply waits, hanging there in that upside-down hush, its familiar shape held motionless, while some unseen and unhurried work begins beneath the surface of its old skin. Then comes the final molt, the very last time this creature will ever shed its skin, and this particular shedding is unlike every one of the many that came before it. Every earlier molt gave the caterpillar a roomier caterpillar body, but this one reveals no larger larva underneath, no legs, no chewing jaws, nothing of its old self. As the old skin splits along the back and works its way slowly upward, what emerges beneath it is smooth and strange, a pale rounded sheath already beginning to harden into something wholly new. This new case is the chrysalis, which is the pupa of a butterfly, and unlike a moth it spins no silken wrapper of its own to wind around itself and hide within. The chrysalis is naked to the world, its protective shell formed from the creature's own body, the last skin transformed into armor rather than shed and left behind. For a little while the surface stays soft and vulnerable, and the whole shape may give a sudden twitch if you brush against it, which is its only remaining way of warning a stranger off. Within a short time the outer wall firms and sets and darkens, sealing the whole transformation safely inside, closing a kind of door that will not open again until the hidden work is truly complete. The colors settle then, sometimes jade green flecked with gold, sometimes bark brown or leaf-shaped, a disguise so faithful that a passing eye slides right over it. It hangs from that single silk anchor, motionless, holding a stillness deeper than any rest a caterpillar has known, needing neither food nor motion nor the light of day. From the outside the case looks plain and quiet, yet within its walls the caterpillar's body is loosening and softening, its old shape gently coming undone to make room for what comes next. Yet sealed inside that unremarkable shell is everything the creature will one day become: the wings and the slender legs and the dark faceted eyes, all of them waiting in the hush to take their form. The chrysalis asks only for time and shelter, for the long, undisturbed pause in which a caterpillar quietly hands its body over to the butterfly it is becoming. So it rests in the fading light, sealed and steady, while inside the shell familiar tissue breaks down and small hidden clusters of cells begin silently growing into the butterfly to come. Within the hardened case of the chrysalis, the caterpillar you knew is serenely coming undone, its familiar shape surrendering to a transformation far stranger and more wondrous than sleep alone. Most of the larval body loosens and breaks down, its tissues dissolving into a warm, nourishing fluid, rich with the raw materials from which an entirely new creature will be shaped. Yet this is no simple disappearance into nothing. The caterpillar does not become an empty broth and start again from a blank page. Something has been waiting inside it all along. Carried within the larva from very early life are small clusters of cells called imaginal discs, folded away like pockets of promise, holding the plans for the adult body to come. These discs have ridden quietly inside the caterpillar, through every meal and every molt, waiting blueprints tucked among the tissues, biding their time until this hidden hour finally arrives. Now bathed in the nutrient-rich fluid around them, the imaginal discs awaken and begin to grow, drawing on the dissolved body as a builder draws on gathered stone. From one pair of discs unfold the wings, from others the slender legs, and from still others the eyes and the delicate antennae that will read the wider world. It is less an erasure than a rebuilding, an old house taken carefully apart so its very materials can be raised again into a form no one would have guessed. The wings begin as tiny folded structures, cell by cell assembling their scales and veins in miniature, the whole grand span of flight rehearsed within a space smaller than your thumb. There is a strange continuity here, for the discs were never truly separate from the caterpillar. They are its own cells, kept in reserve for the self it was always going to become. Even something learned can survive the change. A lesson met in the crawling days can linger into winged life, as if a thread of the self were passed unbroken from one body into the next. So the transformation is not a death and a stranger's birth, but one life folding into another, the same being remade around a keel of cells it always held within. Around this hidden labor, the chrysalis holds its stillness, a smooth, sealed room where no light enters, and the work proceeds unhurried, protected from the reaching world outside. Nourishment flows and structures rise, the dissolved larva feeding the growing adult, nothing wasted, every molecule of the old caterpillar finding new purpose in the creature taking shape. Day by day the vague forms sharpen, legs lengthen, wing pads swell, the compound eyes gather their thousand facets, and a body built for crawling becomes a body built for the air. If you could look inside near the end, you might glimpse the folded wings darkening through the translucent case, the finished pattern pressed and waiting like a letter not yet opened. All of this unfolds without a sound, a private architecture of cells that no eye oversees, obeying an ancient plan written long before the caterpillar ever climbed to this resting place. And so the great rebuilding continues, the new self drawing near, the wings still folded and packed tight, the whole quiet miracle poised on the very edge of its emergence. Somewhere on the underside of a leaf, a small sealed case hangs against the turning world. Within its smooth walls, everything has grown still, and the long waiting has without a sound begun. No light reaches inside. The little dwelling holds its darkness like a held breath, and within that darkness something rests, hidden away from every eye that might pass beneath the branch. Outside, the afternoon moves on without it. Wind stirs the leaves, a bird calls somewhere far off, yet the sealed chamber answers none of it, folded deep into its own silence. There is no hurry here. Within these smooth walls, the old caterpillar shape is peacefully coming apart while tiny hidden cell clusters carried since birth begin patterning the wings to come. The walls are thin, yet they hold like a promise. Whatever is happening within stays wrapped and safe, undisturbed by rain, by shadow, by the slow cooling of the evening air. Think of it as a small closed room where a life is being rebuilt. Special cell groups already present in the caterpillar are growing into legs, eyes, and folded wings within. Hour by hour, the world grows dim around the hanging case. Colors fade to gray, then deeper gray, and still the little room keeps its tender vigil without stirring or waking. Inside, unseen and unhurried, something is becoming. You cannot watch it, cannot hear it, yet you sense that behind the sealed wall a tender work goes on in perfect privacy. The case does not tremble. It does not strain toward what comes next. It simply hangs, trusting the slow process it was made for, anchored by a tiny hook to a button of silk. How safe it seems, sealed from hunger and haste. It needs only to remain while inside. Fed by the recycled body of the caterpillar, the new butterfly slowly takes its shape. Night settles over the garden now, thick and kind. The sealed chamber disappears into shadow, indistinguishable from the twig it clings to, a secret the darkness keeps without effort. Beneath the stillness there is no struggle, only a deep letting go. What was is loosening its shape, and what will be gathers itself unseen, in no rush to arrive. The chrysalis asks for nothing but time, and time is exactly what surrounds it. Each passing hour is another layer of shelter, another mile of distance from the world's noise. If you rested your hand near it, you would feel no motion, hear no sound, and yet everything is moving in there, slowly, wholly, in a hush too deep to disturb. This is what transformation looks like from the outside, a small closed thing, motionless, giving no sign. All the wonder is folded within, wrapped in patience and the mercy of the dark. Hold the image a moment. Behind the sealed wall, delicate wings are folding into place, plaited tight as a fan, waiting for the day their owner will unfurl them. Nothing here needs your worry. The chamber waits as it was meant to, while within, the long work of becoming continues at its own unhurried, ancient, and reliable pace. So it hangs through the deepest hours, keeping its secret against the twig. In time the wall will thin and split, but that hour is still far off. For now only shelter, only becoming. When the long work inside is finished, the chrysalis grows thin and clear, and the shape of a folded butterfly shows faintly through its wall, waiting for the moment to begin. A hidden seam gives way along the top of the case, and the pupa splits open with a small, decisive parting, letting the first thread of outside air reach the new body within. Out through that opening a butterfly begins to climb, working its legs free one by one, gripping the empty shell as it draws the rest of itself into the world. The wings it carries now are nothing like flight yet. They hang crumpled and damp against its sides, folded tight as wet paper pressed into the smallest possible space. Its body, by contrast, looks swollen and heavy, holding a reserve of fluid it has saved through all the long days of change, ready now to feed the waiting wings. That fluid is hemolymph, the insect's own circulating blood, and the butterfly now begins to pump it outward from its full body into the hollow veins of each wing. Along the wings run branching veins like the ribs of a fan, and as pressure rises within them, the whole surface answers, easing open a little more with every heartbeat. You can almost sense the unhurried effort of it, the way the crumpled folds smooth and lengthen, while fluid pushes steadily into every narrowing channel and travels outward toward the farthest edges. Slowly the four wings broaden to their true span, and the colors that were pressed and hidden spread flat into the open pattern they were always meant to become. The butterfly does not rush this delicate stage. It clings in place with wings held outward, letting them settle into their shape rather than forcing a motion they are not yet ready to make. Now comes a waiting that flight depends on entirely, for the freshly spread wings are supple and would fold or tear if their owner tried to lift away too soon. As the minutes pass, the wing tissue begins to harden, the veins firming as the pumped fluid sets and the membranes between them dry into something strong enough to hold air. Hanging there, it opens and closes the wings by slow degrees, a testing rhythm that helps them stiffen evenly and coaxes the drying along their whole broad expanse from base to tip. The discarded chrysalis stays behind, a spent and empty husk clinging to its perch, while just beside it the new creature grows steadily surer of the body it has only now finished assembling. Everything about this hour asks for stillness, and the butterfly gives it, resting on its perch as strength gathers steadily into wings that were crumpled and damp not long before. When at last the wings are firm and dry, the reserve of fluid drawn back into the body, the butterfly stands ready in a form it has never used until now. Its very first flight is a small, unsteady thing, a brief lifting and settling back again, a tentative trial of new muscles that learn their true purpose only in the doing of it. And so the creature lifts from the emptied shell into open air, wings firm at last, carrying into the dusk a body it built cell by cell while the world went on without it. The creature that emerges from the pupa is the very same life that once inched along a leaf, and yet almost nothing about its body remains the way it was before. Where a caterpillar was built simply to eat and to grow, the butterfly is now built for something entirely different: to fly, to find a mate, and to sip nectar from flowers. The strong chewing jaws that once shredded green foliage are gone completely now, replaced by a slender tongue coiled neatly beneath the head like a tiny watch spring left at rest. When it wants to feed, the butterfly gently uncurls that long tongue, a structure called the proboscis, and dips it deep into a blossom to draw up the sweet and hidden nectar within. It no longer bites or chews at all, taking only liquid meals, so the sweet nectar it sips can fuel long hours of flight across meadows without ever weighing its light body down. The many stubby little legs of the caterpillar have given way to 6-jointed adult legs, and some of them can even taste the world simply by standing upon a flower. Above that transformed body spread the wings, broad and richly patterned, delicate structures the crawling larva never once possessed and could scarcely have found any use for on its leaf. Great compound eyes now wrap around the head, gathering light and color and movement across a wide sweeping arc that the nearsighted caterpillar could never possibly have taken in before. Feathery antennae reach outward into the moving air, reading faint traces of scent upon the breeze, helping the butterfly discover flowers and, in its time, another gentle creature of its own kind. The purpose of this new adult body is not endless growth, but reproduction. The butterfly will rarely grow any larger, for it did all of its true growing back when it was a larva. So the same single being has now lived 2 separate lives that barely resemble each other, joined together only by the hidden and unbroken thread of one steadily continuing self. One of those lives crept slowly through the green shade, measuring the whole world by the length of a single leaf and the modest reach of one small and softened body. The other life rides the wide open air upon colored wings, crossing meadows and gardens and sunlit fields that the earthbound caterpillar could never once have imagined itself reaching. Even the rhythm of its days has inverted, for many adults sip and drift by daylight, then still themselves at dusk, where the caterpillar had fed steadily through the leaf-shaded hours without pause. The thread that joins these 2 lives is a single, unbroken self, present in the egg, the crawler, and now the flyer alike. Nothing was replaced by a newcomer. One being simply grew a wholly new form. When evening comes, this winged wanderer settles quietly upon a leaf, folds its patterned wings together, and rests, holding perfectly still until the warm light of morning calls it out to fly again. Every part of this new form now reaches outward toward bright flowers, open sky, and the promise of eggs that will one day hatch into small crawling caterpillars, beginning the whole gentle circle once more. And so one small life becomes 2 lives folded together into a single arc, and now the second half unfurls its finished wings and lets the warm evening air carry it onward. Here is one of the tenderest mysteries in all of biology. When a body is taken apart and rebuilt inside its pupa, you might expect the old self to vanish entirely. So much of the caterpillar's brain is broken down and reorganized that its survival should be impossible to trace, and yet remarkably something of the earlier life is carried across the change. Scientists once taught young caterpillars to associate a particular smell with a mild, unpleasant jolt. The larvae quickly learned to move away from that odor whenever it drifted near them. Then those same caterpillars sealed themselves away, dissolved much of their tissue, and rebuilt their bodies into moths with wings and new eyes and profoundly altered, reorganized brains. When the adult moths emerged, changed almost beyond recognition, The researchers offered them that same familiar smell again. To everyone's quiet wonder, the moths still turned away from it. The lesson had somehow endured. Across the great rebuilding, through the breaking down and the careful reassembly, a fragile thread of experience held fast where you would least expect it. This means the creature that flies is not entirely a stranger to the creature that once crawled. A faint whisper of the caterpillar's world travels forward into the moth's night. How can a memory survive when so much of the brain is remade from within? The answer lies in continuity, for the rebuilding is a reorganization, not a total erasure. Certain neurons and the delicate connections between them appear to persist through the whole transformation, preserved like sentences copied faithfully from one book into another, newer and larger one. The imaginal cells that shape the adult grow up alongside these surviving circuits, and within those spared and protected pathways, a learned association can remain intact and readable. It is a comforting thought to hold as you settle a little deeper tonight. Even a body remade entirely from the inside keeps a small archive of what it once knew. Perhaps memory is less a fixed place than a pattern, and patterns, it turns out, can be carried from one form of a life into another without ever fully breaking. The caterpillar that learned to avoid a certain scent gives that hard-won knowledge, wordlessly, to the moth it will become, a small gift passed forward across the sleeping pupal stage. Not everything survives the change, of course. Much of the old larval life is loosened and recycled into something new, and yet the enduring fragments are more than enough to matter. The spared circuits are few, yet a single preserved pathway is enough to hold one lesson steady. Change did not need to erase everything to be complete. It only had to leave the essential thread untouched. In this quiet way, the moth and you are truly alike, both of you living proof that transformation need not mean forgetting, that renewal can hold hands with remembrance. The most thorough undoing still spares a little of what came before. Whatever is stripped away in the remaking, some quiet core of the earlier self is copied forward, unbroken, into the creature that flies. So let this stay with you as the night deepens around you. Even through the most thorough undoing, a memory can survive, waiting in stillness to be carried gently onward. Where a butterfly hardens into a bare chrysalis, the moth takes a different path first, weaving itself a shelter of silk before it settles into the quiet work of becoming. This woven casing is called a cocoon, and inside its sheltering walls the caterpillar will pupate, hidden from wind and weather, while its body slowly reorganizes itself into something new. Consider the difference as you rest tonight. The chrysalis is naked and exposed, while the moth wraps a soft room around itself, a private chamber spun entirely from its own body. The silk itself begins as a liquid stored within the caterpillar, held in special glands, flowing out through a small opening near the mouth that is fittingly named the spinneret. As that liquid meets the air, it firms into thread, and the caterpillar swings its head in slow looping figures, laying line over line until the first walls begin to take shape. Around and around it moves, each pass adding another layer, the shelter thickening steadily from a loose and airy veil into a snug rounded enclosure that seals it away. In the domesticated silk moth, this thread is a single unbroken strand, wound continuously without a break, coiling upon itself for a length that is genuinely difficult to imagine. One small caterpillar, working steadily for days, produces one long fiber that may stretch for hundreds and hundreds of yards, all of it folded neatly into a cocoon the size of a thumb. This very thread is the ancient origin of silk, the fabric humans have prized for thousands of years, unwound with great care from cocoons and spun into shimmering cloth. To keep that single strand whole for weaving, people learned to unwind the cocoon with great care and patience, coaxing one continuous thread free without ever letting it snap or tangle. Yet a wild moth, left to its own rhythm, simply completes its change inside, its adult form assembling within the shelter while the wider world carries on entirely without it. The cocoon offers far more than walls. It hides the resting pupa from hungry eyes, cushions it against the cold, and holds a small, enduring pocket of steadiness and shade. Some moths tuck their cocoons among fallen leaves, while others fasten them firmly to a twig or bury them shallowly in the soil, each species finding its own safe and hidden corner. A few weave loosely, leaving an airy open mesh through which light still passes, while others spin so densely that the finished casing feels almost like parchment, firm beneath a fingertip. Certain species even work small bits of leaf or shed hair into the silk, camouflaging the shelter so completely that it seems to vanish against the very bark it clings to. Within, the transformation follows the same deep pattern, larval tissue softening, imaginal discs unfolding into wings and legs and eyes, an adult forming slowly from the raw material of the young. When the moth is finally ready, it releases a softening fluid or pushes through a weakened end, emerging with crumpled wings that it slowly pumps full of fluid and then rests to dry. The finished cocoon is left hanging, its long thread spent to the last coil. What it sheltered has gone on ahead into the dusk, and its purpose, once so vital, is silently done. Not every insect vanishes into a sealed case to be remade. Some choose a slower road, changing a little at a time, never fully hiding themselves away from the living world. A grasshopper never knows a pupa, never rests inside a shell. It hatches already resembling its parents, only smaller and wingless, a miniature of what it will one day fully become. These young ones are called nymphs. From their very first moment they walk and feed much as the adults do, sharing the same body shape, the same simple and steady hungers. Their becoming is called incomplete metamorphosis, a name marking only the missing pupal stage. The nymph grows toward the adult through a series of gentle steps, each one leaving it a little more finished than before. Because the nymph wears its skeleton on the outside, it cannot swell within a rigid shell. To grow any larger, it must shed that old armor and step out roomier and freer. This shedding is a molt. The outgrown exoskeleton splits along the back, and the nymph eases itself free, pale and tender, waiting for a fresh new casing to slowly harden around it. Between molts, the young insect eats and grows, storing size within its snug armor. When that casing finally pinches too tightly, the body signals that another molt is near at hand. Each span between molts has a name, an instar. The nymph passes through several of them, growing a fraction larger and a little more finished and complete with every single shedding. Watch a young cricket closely and you see its future written faintly upon it. Small wing pads sit folded neatly on its back, quiet hints of the flight that is yet to come. With each successive molt, those little wing pads swell and lengthen a bit more, promises stretching further as the seasons pass, unfolding their quiet intent one careful stage nearer to their completion. Only at the very final molt do the wings truly arrive, spreading full and functional as the nymph becomes an adult at last, ready now for the open and waiting air. Cockroaches walk this same gradual road, their pale young slipping loose from split skins to darken and firm over time, growing steadily and surely toward the familiar form we know so well. The true bugs follow it too, and so does the dragonfly's fierce underwater young, climbing free of the water for one last molt into a winged and glittering and airborne life. There is something steadying in this way of changing. The insect is never dissolved into fluid, only widened and refined, keeping the same recognizable body from its first day to its last molt. Unlike the pupa makers, these young never seal themselves away. They face the open world at every stage, hardening a little more each time, feathered with growth and never once wholly hidden. Cicadas may spend years underground as nymphs, feeding in darkness, molting unseen among the roots, until at last they rise to shed one final skin and sing beneath the warm summer sky. Every nymph proves that a wondrous change can also be a quiet one, unfolding molt by molt in plain daylight, a whole new adult arriving one small, sure step at a time. So let these gradual changers settle your thoughts tonight, each small molt a single step toward wholeness, each unhurried stage carrying them and carrying you along with them a little nearer to rest. Long before the dragonfly ever meets the sky, it lives an entirely different life beneath the water, a hidden creature that most of us never see gliding among the reeds and mud. In its first world, the dragonfly is a nymph, a fierce and armored hunter of the pond, prowling the shadowed floor with a body built for underwater life rather than for open air. This young hunter breathes without ever surfacing, drawing oxygen from the water through gills tucked inside its abdomen, so the whole pond becomes a single slow breath it takes again and again. Beneath that watchful stillness hides a remarkable weapon, a lower jaw folded neatly beneath the head, waiting like a coiled spring for something small to wander too near. When prey drifts close, the jaw shoots forward in an instant, extending far past the face to seize a tadpole or a worm, then folding back to feed in the murk. For months, and sometimes for years, this underwater life continues, the nymph molting its outgrown armor again and again as it swells larger with every meal it catches. Each shedding of the old skin is a small rehearsal for the greater change ahead, a body learning to leave one shape behind and grow another beneath it. Because the dragonfly grows by gradual steps and never rests inside a sealed case, its path is called incomplete metamorphosis, a slow becoming rather than a hidden rebuild. Unlike a caterpillar, this nymph hides no melting inner soup and seals no case. Instead, its adult body has been forming slowly within, molt after molt, until one last shedding finally reveals it. When some inner readiness finally stirs, The nymph stops feeding and begins to climb, gripping a reed or a slender stem and hauling itself up out of the only world it has known. For the first time, its gills fall silent as it reaches the air, and the creature clings there in the dusk, its body already sensing the enormous change about to unfold. Along the back of the nymph, a thin seam appears, and the old skin splits open down the middle, parting like a door that has waited a lifetime to swing wide. Slowly, the adult dragonfly pulls itself free of the husk it has outgrown, easing out its head and legs, and the crumpled beginnings of wings folded tight against its side. Newly emerged, it looks fragile and unfinished, its wings small and creased, its long body soft and pale, nothing yet like the darting jewel it is soon to become. The dragonfly rests while its folded wings slowly fill and lengthen, each one broadening from a rumpled scrap into a long transparent blade, veined and bright, ready to catch the low evening light. It must wait now while the air hardens its new body, letting the wings stiffen and the pale colors deepen, for nothing can fly until the fresh form has fully set. When it finally lifts away, the pond it ruled for years is gone from its life entirely. It will never again breathe water, and the floor it hunted lies forgotten far beneath its new element. Two worlds meet in this single creature, the water below and the bright air above, and as you rest, imagine it drifting between them, carried into a life it has waited so long to begin. Beneath the roots of an ordinary tree, a young cicada is already living a life you will never see, tucked into the cool earth where the seasons pass overhead unnoticed. As a pale, wingless nymph, it sips a thin sap drawn from the roots, feeding on a diet so faint that years, not months, become the measure of its growth. There is no rush in this underground world. The nymph tends toward stillness, growing by tiny degrees while the surface forgets it is even there. Some kinds keep this hidden life for a small number of years. A few famous broods remain below for well over a decade before their moment arrives. Down there the darkness never lifts, and the world shrinks to bark, root, and soil, so that the slow-feeding nymph grows almost imperceptibly while whole summers pass unseen above. Scientists believe the insects count the years by the subtle rhythm of the sap, sensing the tree above, leafing out and falling bare, again and yet again. When the long tally is nearly complete, something shifts within them, a readiness gathering in the soil like a held breath waiting for its cue. Warmth reaching down through the ground gives the signal, and across whole forests the buried nymphs begin to stir at nearly the same hour. They tunnel upward through the dark soil toward a world of open air they have never touched, drawn by an instinct older than any single life. Emerging by the thousands upon thousands, they surface together so that a hidden multitude becomes suddenly astonishingly visible on a single warm evening. Each nymph climbs, gripping bark or stem with earth-worn claws, seeking a steady hold where the final transformation of its long life can safely unfold. There the old skin splits along the back, and slowly the winged adult eases itself free, pale and soft, leaving an empty amber shell behind. Fresh from the split, the adult clings close to its old shell, gathering itself. Its four wings ease slowly out of their creases and lengthen, tissue that only hours ago lay tightly packed underground. Through the night, the new adult darkens and hardens, its body knitting into the form that will carry it up from the ground at last. By morning, the trees hold countless voices, for the males vibrate special drum-like membranes to fill the whole canopy with their pulsing, resonant song. This chorus is the point of the long wait, a brief, loud season of courtship crowded into weeks after so many years spent unseen below. Females answer. Eggs are laid in slender twigs, and in time the tiny hatchlings drop to the earth to begin their own descent into darkness. So the forest grows quiet again as a new generation slips into the cool soil. There they will rest through many turning seasons, unhurried and safe, while the long, calm years pass softly overhead. Somewhere in the folds of a shaded leaf, a small case hangs motionless, and inside it a single life waits without a sound, sealed away from all the moving world beyond its walls. A thread of silk anchors the case to the leaf's underside, a single fine tether against the sway of the branch, holding this small sleeper steady while the slow work goes on unseen inside. The casing holds its shape against the cooling evening air, a rounded hush of a home, keeping the wind and the fading light and the noise of the day gently outside. Within these thin walls there is no hurry now, no schedule left to keep, only the long and unhurried patience of a body that is serenely allowed to become something entirely new. Nothing stirs upon the surface, and yet beneath it tiny clusters of cells already carried inside are quietly growing into wings and legs, a deep private work no watching eye can see. Around the little chamber the night settles down like a blanket drawn up over a sleeper, and the waiting one rests inside that deepening quiet, cradled and untroubled and warm. It asks for nothing at all now, not food, not motion, not answers to any question, only the plain safety of being held while the shape it will one day wear is prepared. Inside the shell, the old caterpillar shape is loosening while wings take form, a slow reshaping that turns one small creature into a wholly different one, hidden and unhurried in the dark. The world outside grows dim and cool and gray, and still the small case keeps its faith, a sealed and steady promise that something whole and finished is being made within. You might picture the sleeper here a while, wings folded flat and damp against its body, legs and eyes forming in the quiet, everything readied long before the shell will ever open. There is an expectancy to this long waiting, the leaning stillness of a seed beneath winter soil, certain of the green it will send up once the warmth returns to call it. No struggle disturbs the smooth surface of the shell, no visible effort or strain, only the deep composure of a creature that trusts the darkness to finish what it has begun. The chamber keeps its tender secret through the long, slow hours, unmoving and whole, while inside it new wings, new legs, and new eyes are shaped, and without a sound folded into place. Everything the waking one will need is being carefully assembled inside, tucked and layered and readied with tender care, though not a single sign of it shows upon the sealed shell. Let the deep stillness of that hidden place settle now into you, the sense of a whole life paused at the threshold, resting, waiting to be called gently forward into light. Soon, though not just yet, the walls will thin and slowly soften apart, but for now there is only this suspended and weightless calm, this long, tender gathering before the great. In the deep hush, a new shape is nearly ready, resting at the far edge of its long change, its wings still furled, its colors still waiting for the first touch of morning. And so the little one waits on, sealed and safe and wholly unafraid, poised at the tender lip of waking, while the slow night carries it onward and inward toward the morning. In a still pond, a cluster of frog eggs waits beneath the surface, each dark speck a promise wrapped in clear jelly, holding a life that has not yet learned its shape. When one of these eggs hatches, out slips a tadpole, a small swimmer with no legs and no lungs at all, belonging entirely to the water it was born into. The tadpole wears a long, muscular tail that ripples from side to side, carrying it smoothly through the water with an ease it will one day give away. Along the sides of its head sit feathery gills, delicate fringes that comb oxygen straight from the pond so this young creature can breathe without ever meeting the open air. For a while, the tadpole feeds without pause, scraping algae from stones and stems, rounding out and gathering strength as the machinery of a great change peacefully assembles beneath its skin. Deep within, a single messenger begins the work of transformation. Thyroid hormone rising in the blood, the tide that guides an amphibian's whole remaking from swimmer toward walk. The first sign appears near the tail, where two tiny buds swell and lengthen into hind legs, folded and small, waiting for the day they will push against the earth. Front legs are forming too, hidden for a time beneath the skin, then breaking through the surface as the tadpole edges closer to a body built for the land. Inside the small chest, lungs are forming spongy chambers folding open chamber by chamber, learning the trick of holding air against the day the tadpole will lift its head above the water. As the lungs mature, the feathery gills slowly fade and are absorbed back into the body, one way of breathing gently surrendered so another can begin above the waterline. Its mouth widens and reshapes itself entirely, trading a grazer's small opening for the broad jaw of a hunter that will one day snap at insects passing overhead. The long tail is not shed or lost. It is slowly reabsorbed, its very substance recycled inward to help build the sturdy legs and rounded belly of the frog. The gut shortens as the diet shifts, the plant eater's long winding coil giving way to the simpler passage suited to a new life of catching living prey. Through these weeks the young froglet lingers near the shallows, half of the water and half of the air, testing each new part of the body it is becoming. Then one evening it climbs onto a wet stone or a floating leaf at the edge, its tail nearly gone, filling those new lungs with the cool night air. The eyes have shifted higher and grown rounder, lifting above the surface so the frog can watch the world from the shifting border between the pond and the shore. What began as a finned swimmer now breathes with lungs and moves on legs, at home both in the pond and along its grassy edge, carrying its watery beginning quietly inside. At last the frog crouches on the mossy bank, its transformation finished, 4 strong legs beneath it. From egg to tadpole to frog, one small life has silently become something entirely new. The tadpole's tail does not fall away or snap off behind it. Instead, the little body begins to draw the tail slowly inward, absorbing it steadily back into itself. Nothing about this is a loss to mourn. The tail is not discarded as waste, but taken apart, cell by cell, so its substance can become something wholly new. Deep within the tail, tiny cells release their hold on one another. The tissue that once pushed against the water loosens, softens, and prepares to be carried somewhere else. Special cells arrive to break the old tail down into its smallest pieces. Proteins are unfastened, membranes are dissolved, and the raw material of a swimming tail is set free. The tail is broken down into proteins and amino acids the body reclaims. These building blocks nourish the growing frog everywhere, helping fuel the strong new hind legs made for leaping onto land. You might expect an open wound where the tail once was, yet there is none. The body simply retrieves what it had lent to the tail and welcomes every piece home. This is thrift written directly into flesh. Every scrap of protein, every fiber and strand once devoted to the tail is recycled rather than spent and carelessly thrown away. The tail shrinks a little more each day, drawn back toward the base of the spine. No knife, no tearing, only a steady inward gathering of all that once was. Hormone signals guide the whole undoing. The same thyroid message that reshapes the mouth and lungs, now telling the tail that its long season of usefulness is serenely coming to an end. As the tail retreats, the legs answer its retreat. Material freed from behind flows forward and downward, thickening the thighs and calves of a body now clearly meant for the land. A young frog carries nothing to spare, so it saves each fiber of the tail. This careful thrift lets a water dweller become a land dweller using only what its own body already holds. The reabsorption is measured and never sudden. The tadpole keeps swimming for a while, even as the tail steadily thins, using it until the very last of its usefulness is gone. Cells that once flexed against the current fold themselves up and vanish, their contents parceled out to organs still under quiet construction elsewhere in the small and changing frame. By the time the tail is a mere stub, its reclaimed nourishment has quietly helped feed the whole small body, supporting the growing legs, the changing gut, and the steadily strengthening young heart. The process feels almost tender to imagine, a creature dismantling its own early childhood shape and keeping every useful part to furnish the waiting adult that it is slowly becoming. No trace of the tail is buried or shed into the pond around it. It lives on, hidden and dispersed through a body that will one day sit still upon a stone. A swimmer becomes a walker, so without a sound you might miss it. The frog reshapes itself from within, and by the time the tail is gone, a small climber sits ready upon its stone. And so the tail does not truly end at all. It merely changes address, folded into the legs that will one day carry a sleeping frog toward all its quiet tomorrows. Somewhere behind the tadpole's throat sits a small gland called the thyroid, and everything the young swimmer will one day become waits peacefully on the signal it is about to release. The whole grand rebuilding of an amphibian traces back to a single messenger, a thyroid hormone that seeps into the blood and tells each and every tissue what it must now do. At first only a trickle arrives, so faint the young swimmer notices nothing, yet that first whisper of hormone is already the opening note of a total transformation about to unfold. As the thyroid stirs, the level of hormone climbs, and with each small rise, the body reads the change as an instruction to remake itself carefully, one deliberate piece of tissue after another. One molecule reaches nearly every cell in the growing body, yet each kind of tissue answers it differently, some building, some dissolving, some reshaping, all of them listening to the very same voice. Because every tissue carries its own way of hearing the signal, a single hormone can grow a limb in one place and take an entire tail apart in another, all at once. In the hindquarters, the message wakes tiny limb buds that had been waiting all along, coaxing them to lengthen into legs strong enough to carry the animal's weight on solid ground. Deep within the coiled belly, the long plant-grinding gut of the tadpole shortens and rebuilds itself, refitting its whole length for the richer, meatier meals the adult frog will soon swallow whole. The skin thickens and changes its chemistry, trading a delicate covering made for water for a new one that can hold precious moisture in and stand up to the drying open air. Even the mouth is completely reworked, the tadpole's rasping tools giving way to wide jaws and a long tongue suited to seizing living prey rather than scraping algae from a stone. Under the hormone's steady climb, the eyes shift forward on the skull, granting the animal the overlapping gaze a land creature needs to judge distance carefully before it decides to strike. The gills that once drew breath from water are quietly retired as the lungs take up the work, and the changing animal learns to lift its head above the surface and gulp the air. None of this happens by chance or by force from somewhere outside. The timing is written into the animal itself, released the very moment its own thyroid decides the hour has truly come. Rising and falling with care, the hormone keeps each change in order so the new legs stand ready while the tail is slowly reabsorbed, its very substance recycled to nourish the growing body. It is a wonder that one small chemical, rising and easing in the blood, can guide a whole animal from water to land while it hardly seems to notice the change. Should that little gland stay silent, the change never begins, and the swimmer simply keeps its youthful shape, waiting there in the water for a signal that has not yet chosen to arrive. When the hormone at last recedes and quiets, the long work is finished, and where a water grazer once glided there now sits a small hunter breathing easily on the muddy shore. So the animal rests within its new body, remade entirely by a single rising tide from inside, and the water it has left behind grows still beneath the deepening light of evening. Not every creature hurries toward its grown-up shape. Some salamanders linger in the form of their youth, choosing the water and the shallows over the pull of dry, unfamiliar land. Among them lives the axolotl, a pale salamander of old Mexican lakes, who keeps the body of a child through every season of its long and watery life. Around its head spread feathery gills, delicate branching fronds that gather oxygen straight from the water. Most salamanders lose these in growing up. The axolotl simply keeps them. This lingering has a name that biologists offer with real affection. They call it neoteny, the keeping of youthful traits into adulthood, a life lived in the shape of a beginning. It would be a mistake to call the axolotl unfinished, as though something went wrong along the way. Nothing is missing here. This is simply the whole of who it is. Beneath the water it feeds and grows and lays its eggs, a fully mature creature wearing a young one's outline, needing nothing more than the shape it already holds. Think of it as a life that stays where the water is kind. Why trade cool depths and drifting fronds for the labor of lungs and the dryness of a distant shore? And yet the grown-up form is not truly gone. It waits within, folded away and hidden inside the young body like a possibility that has simply never been called upon. The signal that would normally summon that adult is a hormone from the thyroid, the very same messenger that turns tadpoles into frogs throughout the amphibian world it belongs to. In the axolotl, that summons stays hushed. Its body makes little of the hormone, or answers it faintly, and so the childhood shape holds steady year after year. Should thyroid hormone arrive in enough measure, though the hidden adult can be coaxed awake, and the salamander begins a slow change it might otherwise have gone its whole life without ever knowing. The feathery gills would then shrink and be reabsorbed, the tail fin reshaping, while lungs take up the quiet work of breathing air as a land-going salamander slowly comes into view. It is a strange kind of magic, this sleeper waiting inside. The blueprint for another life rests within, present all along, needing only the right whisper to unfold. Most axolotls never hear that whisper, and there is no loss in it. They pass their days in youthful form, content in the only body they have ever wished to wear. Their close salamander cousins on land tell how the other path might look. Walking beneath logs and leaves, the axolotl watches from the water, keeping to a different promise. There is something restful in a creature that need not rush to become. It shows that staying young is not a failing, but a way of belonging fully to the place that raised it. So the axolotl rests there in its shallows, feathery gills stirring like petals in the current, carrying its grown-up self as a quiet secret it may well keep forever unspoken. And perhaps that is the tender lesson it leaves with you tonight. Some transformations are meant to wait, held gently in reserve, while a young and easy life goes softly on. Far beneath the waves, transformation is always underway. Countless ocean creatures begin their lives as tiny, drifting larvae, carried among the plankton, looking nothing like the parents that made them. These larvae are travelers first and settlers later. Riding the currents through the open water, they feed and grow, waiting for the moment when they will remake themselves into something wholly new. A barnacle spends its youth as a swimming speck, nothing like the crusted cone you find fastened to a pier. Only after settling does it cement itself down and build its stony home. When that young barnacle finds a surface it likes, it lands headfirst and glues itself in place. There it rebuilds its body, growing the plates that will shelter it for the rest of its days. A crab, too, begins as a spiny, floating larva called a zoea, almost unrecognizable. It molts through stage after stage in the plankton before taking on the familiar shape of a crab. Each molt reveals a little more of the creature to come. The larva sheds its old covering, hardens a new one beneath, and inches closer to the armored form its parents wear. Sea stars arrive by a stranger road still. Their larvae are transparent, bilateral swimmers, symmetrical left and right, giving no hint of the five-armed radial body that waits inside them. As a young sea star settles, its whole geometry is rewritten. The swimming larva breaks down, and from a cluster within, the familiar star slowly takes its rounded five-rayed shape. Even corals, which seem so fixed and ancient, once wandered. Each begins as a soft swimming larva called a planula, searching the water for a place to rest and begin. When the coral planula settles, it anchors to the seafloor and becomes a polyp. From that single founder, an entire reef can rise, built one small tenant at a time. So much of the sea's beauty is stitched together this way from tiny beginnings that first had to travel. The reef, the tide pool, the crowded rock all started as motes afloat. There is a wisdom in beginning small and unformed. A larva can journey to new waters its parents will never reach, spreading life outward before it ever settles into a fixed shape. The plankton is a vast and crowded nursery. Within its glittering haze float the unfinished selves of crabs and stars and corals, each one biding time until its body is ready to change. Notice how the ocean asks its young to become someone else entirely. The form that swims is rarely the form that stays, and the quiet change between them runs deep and true. For many, settling is the great turning point of a life. To leave the open water and commit to one spot is to trade wandering for building and drifting for becoming. Notice how differently each one arrives. The barnacle gluing down head first, the coral raising a reef from one founder, the crab crawling ashore sideways, each larva keeping its own strange road to the same rest. The sea has practiced this art for longer than we can easily hold in mind, transforming its children across uncountable generations, steadily turning small swimmers into the architecture of the reef. And so tonight, across the dark water, countless small lives are silently finding their places, each one letting go of the current at last as the tide moves slow and even beneath the stars. Far above the seabed, in the sunlit reaches of the open water, the ocean holds a hidden nursery where the youngest lives of many familiar animals begin as almost nothing at all. A crab does not hatch as a crab. It enters the world as a tiny, spiny speck with enormous eyes, adrift among the plankton, unrecognizable to anyone who knows the adult. This larval crab is called a zoea, and it looks like something invented in a dream, all spines and swimming bristles, a transparent traveler riding the water rather than the sand. Its great dark eyes take up much of its body, watching the pale lit sea around it, while delicate limbs beat a rhythm that keeps this speck suspended in the current. For a season, the young crab is a wanderer, carried by tides and eddies across distances the crawling adult could never hope to cross on its many careful legs. Then, through a lengthening series of molts, its shape begins to change, drawing slowly inward toward something stouter, something bearing the first promise of claws and a broad protective shell. In a later stage, it becomes a megalopa, a curious in-between creature that still swims yet already carries the outline of the crab it is destined to be. At last it settles, sinking from the bright water down onto the seabed, where it molts once more and finally walks the world sideways as the crab we know. The sea star tells its own version, beginning not as a five-armed shape, but as a clear, tiny, bilateral swimmer, its two matching sides bearing no hint of the radiant star to come. This larva glides through the plankton on bands of beating hairs, a soft transparent form that bears almost no resemblance to the ridged star waiting inside its future. As it drifts and feeds, a small hidden bud of new tissue grows within, serenely assembling the radial body that will slowly take shape as the swimming form is broken down and folded in. When the moment finally comes, the larva settles onto the bottom and the star-shaped self emerges, its old swimming body gently broken down and taken back in as the young star takes hold. The reason for this long voyage is scattering. By riding the currents as fragile specks, these animals spread their young across reefs and shores far from where their parents live. The open water asks a great deal of such travelers, offering food and passage, but also countless dangers, so only a fortunate few will ever reach the seabed below. Yet the strategy is ancient, and it works, filling the plankton each season with a shimmering crowd of tiny, transforming lives, each rehearsing its journey toward a settled form. It is strange to picture these travelers so alike at the start, each a bright fleck in the same current, before their bodies serenely parted ways toward claw and spine and five-armed star. The plankton, then, is less a place than a passage, a wide moving cradle where countless creatures are remade between the egg they left and the adult they will become. So tonight, as the surface glimmers and the young ones ride the endless currents, let the mind sink slowly with them, drifting toward its own settled and restful shore. Somewhere in the open water, a flounder begins its life looking like any other little fish, its body evenly matched, an eye set neatly on each side of a slender face. In these first days, it swims upright through the sunlit shallows, tail below and back above, a small silver thing drifting among the countless larvae of the sea. Nothing about this early shape hints at what is coming, for the young flounder is symmetric and ordinary, balanced as though it might grow into a fish like any other. Then, as the weeks turn, a quiet instruction stirs within its body, and one eye begins to prepare in secret to leave the place it has always known. Slowly, over many days rather than in a single moment, that lone eye begins to travel, creeping upward and across the top of the head toward the far side of the little face. The bones of the young skull soften and reshape themselves, opening a gentle path so the wandering eye can make its journey without ever losing its place in the changing world. It is not lost or wounded, only remade, and the eye migrates steadily across the crown of the head until at last it settles down beside its partner on one side alone. Both eyes now share a single surface, gazing the same direction, while the other side of the head turns blind and pale, made ready to be pressed against the ground below. As the eye completes its long crossing, the whole fish slowly tips, leaning from its old upright swimming onto one flattened side, as if lying down at last to rest. The pale underside becomes a belly held against the seabed, and the eyed side becomes a back, patterned in mottled tones to match the sand and the shifting shadow above it. What was once a rounded, upright swimmer is now a living tile upon the ocean floor, wide and thin and low, hugging the sediment in the place where the light grows dim. The mouth, too, has tilted along with all the rest, so that a face first built for the open water learns instead to feed and breathe along the bottom of the sea. Hormones without a sound guide this remaking, the same thyroid signal that turns a tadpole into a frog, coaxing bone and muscle to flow together into an entirely new arrangement of a body. Lying flat and unhurried, the flounder can vanish, sinking into loose sand until only its two watchful eyes remain above the grains, both of them turned to face the water overhead. Here it waits, half buried and unmoving, its remade face turned upward toward the light, needing no chase at all, letting the slow current carry its meals within easy reach. A creature that began perfectly balanced on either side has become beautifully lopsided, and in that very asymmetry it finds a resting home no upright fish could ever hope to keep. There is something tender in this rearranging of a face, a body willing to move an eye all the way across itself, simply to belong to the quiet floor of the sea. And so the little flounder eases into stillness, its traveling eye finally at rest, the seabed rising up to meet it as the dark water folds itself softly overhead. An eel does not begin as anything you would recognize as an eel. It begins as a leptocephalus, a flat and glass-clear larva shaped like a slender willow leaf. Picture a ribbon of living glass no longer than your finger, so transparent that the water behind it shows straight through, a body pressed thin and wide like a floating leaf. Through this see-through form run only faint threads of tissue and a fine line of gut. The heart shows as a small moving shadow within an almost invisible shape. The leaf shape is not an accident, but a raft. A body this flat and light rides the open ocean, the way a fallen leaf rides a stream carried rather than swimming. For many months, sometimes far longer, the leptocephalus travels on the great ocean currents, crossing whole seas without ever once seeing the distant land its life will one day belong to. It feeds not on other creatures but on marine snow, the drifting flecks and jellied particles sinking through the sea. A clear body needs little and takes its time growing. Being transparent is itself a kind of shelter. In the wide blue where there is nowhere to hide, a body that lets light pass through is a body hard to see. So the glass ribbon crosses the ocean unhurried and nearly unseen, drifting for a year or more, carrying peacefully inside its clear body every part of the eel it is slowly preparing to become. Only near the end of that long ocean voyage, as the far coasts begin to gather ahead, does the great change finally reach the larva and begin its slow work of remaking. Strangely, the transformation shrinks it. The wide leaf narrows and thickens, the flat body drawing inward until the larva grows smaller as it turns toward its adult shape. The leaf becomes a thread. What was broad and flat rounds into a slim cylinder, and the sprawling ribbon condenses into the pencil-slender form of a young eel. Now it is called a glass eel, still see-through but eel-shaped at last, a tiny transparent serpent hovering at the mouths of rivers where fresh water meets the sea. You could hold one to the light and watch the world behind it, a living sliver of glass with the faint spark of eyes and the first suggestion of a spine. Then, sensing the rivers, the glass eels turn shoreward and press upstream, riding the tides inland, following fresh water toward the hidden waters where they will spend their long adult life. As they climb into the rivers, color finally arrives. Faint pigment settles across the clear skin, and the glass eel darkens by degrees into a small brown creature. That darkening marks the last change of the journey, when the see-through traveler becomes an ordinary eel, ready to vanish into muddy banks and shaded pools for years. It is a curious life story, told backward from what you might expect: a clear and wandering youth on the open sea, then a dark and secret maturity in still inland water. And so it eases down among the reeds and mud, the wide ocean behind it forever, and folds into the calm brown water where the rest of its long life will, without a sound, unfold. Some creatures live not one life but two, wearing entirely different bodies in turn. The jellyfish is such a wanderer, and its story begins not adrift but anchored to the seafloor. Long before the floating bell you picture, there's a polyp, a tiny stalked thing rooted to a rock. It looks nothing like a jellyfish, yet it is one biding its time. Picture this small polyp as a slender tube crowned with tentacles, fixed in place and feeding, gathering what the current brings while it holds its position on the darkened seabed. For a season, the polyp lives silently this way, growing stronger as it feeds. It stores energy from the passing sea, readying itself, though it cannot yet know, for a great change ahead. When conditions turn just right, the polyp begins a remarkable act of division. Along its column it stacks disc after disc, like a pile of saucers ready to loosen. This stacking has a lovely name, strobilation, and each disc within it is a young jellyfish forming in miniature, layered one atop another and waiting for release into open water. One by one, from the top of that living stack, the tiny discs pinch free and pulse away. Each pulsing speck is an ephira, the newborn swimming form. The ephira is small and star-shaped, its edges cut into delicate lobes. It bears little resemblance yet to the full bell, but already it swims, already it belongs to the open sea. As the ephira feeds and grows, its lobes broaden and fuse, filling in toward a smooth dome. Slowly the familiar bell takes shape, translucent and rounding out with every passing tide. This grown swimming form is the medusa, the jellyfish of your imagination, trailing tentacles beneath a pulsing bell. It is the same being as the rooted polyp, only wearing a wholly different shape. The change from one to the other is no accident of chance, but a practiced turning, a body that has learned to be two creatures and to move between them as the seasons ask. Scientists call this alternation of generations. Between the rooted polyp and the swimming medusa, the animal switches bodies entirely, one settled and one free, each a full chapter in a single unbroken life. When at last the medusa matures, it releases eggs and sperm into the water, and from their meeting a tiny larva forms, fringed with beating hairs to carry it along. This larva, the planula, swims for a while like a mote of dust in a sunbeam, searching the currents for a solid place to settle down and begin again. Finding a suitable surface, the planula sinks, attaches, and transforms back into a rooted polyp. The wandering has folded once more into stillness, and the whole cycle serenely renewed. So the loop completes itself, polyp to medusa to planula and home to polyp again, each form dissolving into the next without any ending you could point to. There is comfort in a creature that need not choose between rooted rest and open drifting, but takes each in its turn, whole and unhurried, across the seasons of the sea. Somewhere beneath the waves tonight, A polyp holds its quiet place while a bell drifts far above, two chapters of one long story, turning through their forms as you settle toward sleep. Long before there were butterflies to admire, evolution stumbled upon a strange and beautiful idea, a resting stage tucked between the young form and the grown one, a pause that changed everything. That pause is the pupa, an interlude of stillness in which a body is peacefully rebuilt. It arose hundreds of millions of years ago in the deep past of the insect world. Picture those first ancestors, small and unremarkable, discovering by slow chance that a larva and an adult need not look alike or live alike. From that discovery, a new kind of life unfolded. The trick was to split one existence into two. The larva could devote itself to eating and growing. The adult could master flying and finding a mate, each perfecting its own single task. Between those two lives, the pupa became the bridge. Within its sealed quiet, the machinery of one body is taken apart and reassembled into another, a transformation held in a single vessel. This is called complete metamorphosis, and its power lies in that separation. The eating young and the flying adult follow paths so different they rarely reach for the same resources. Because they lived such different lives, larva and adults stopped crowding one another. A caterpillar chewing without a sound on leaves asks nothing of the flower where the butterfly will one day sip. That freedom proved astonishingly successful. Once the pupa appeared, the lineages that carried it began to branch and multiply, spilling outward into nearly every corner of the living world. Consider what wears this ancient invention now. Every beetle that trundles across the soil once rested as a pupa, remade from a soft and shapeless grub into armor and legs. Every fly that hums past your window passed through the same hidden stillness, its maggot body broken down and rebuilt around cell clusters it already carried into wings, eyes, and delicate flight. Every bee that gathers pollen was once a pale larva sealed in a wax cell, reshaped through pupation into the tireless humming worker you know from summer afternoons. And every butterfly and moth, of course, carries the story most vividly, unfolding from the chrysalis or the spun cocoon into wings that seem too intricate to have been assembled in the dark. Look closely and the pattern appears everywhere at once. In the beetle underfoot, the fly at the glass, the bee in the blossom, the moth at the lamp, all of them shaped first inside a pupa. It is worth resting on how ordinary this wonder became. A pause to be rebuilt, once a rare accident turned into the common road that shaped beetle and bee and butterfly alike. No one planned it, and no one foresaw its reach. A single accidental pause, favored generation after generation, became one of the great turning points in the whole history of life. It is a quiet reassurance, knowing transformation has such deep roots that this turning inward to be remade is older than the flowers on the branch and older than the birds in the air. Each pupa alive tonight is a small inheritance from that ancient beginning, a sealed and waiting room where an old body yields without struggle to the body it is becoming. So the invention endures unhurried and everywhere in gardens and forests and the soil beneath you, and it will go on reshaping the living world long after you have slipped into sleep. Somewhere in your drowsy wondering, a question waits. Why would a creature take the trouble to change so completely, to unmake one body and become another entirely? The answer is a kind of quiet generosity. By living two separate lives, an animal makes room in the world for the young it will never meet. Picture the caterpillar, endlessly chewing leaves, and the butterfly it becomes, sipping only nectar from flowers. They are one being, yet they never dine at the same table. Because their appetites differ so completely, parent and offspring do not crowd each other. The child feeds where the adult cannot, and each is left with plenty. Think of the tadpole grazing on algae in warm, shallow water. Its whole world a pond. It scrapes a living from surfaces the frog will never touch. That same frog, once grown, leaves the water behind to hunt insects along the bank. Its former self and its present self keep to different rooms of the same house. Here is the hidden elegance of two lives. A single species learns to occupy two worlds at once, water and air, leaf and blossom, without ever competing. In a world where food is finite, competition between kin can be costly. Metamorphosis peacefully sidesteps that struggle by sending the generations off in opposite directions. The young form bends itself wholly toward one purpose, gathering food and growing large, laying up the quiet store of substance that the coming transformation will one day draw upon. The adult, by contrast, specializes in a different task, finding mates and scattering eggs, sipping just enough sweetness to fuel its brief winged errands. So the two forms divide the labor of a lifetime between them. One body gathers, the other body spreads, and neither steals from the other's plate. Consider how a dragonfly nymph lurks underwater, seizing tiny prey, while the shimmering adult it becomes patrols the summer air far above the surface it left. This sharing of the world is written across countless creatures, the wood-boring grub and its sap-drinking parent, the leaf-chewing young and the flower-visiting old, each generation handed its own quiet corner. Even the eel, drifting as a transparent leaf-shaped larva across the open ocean, feeds and travels in ways its river-dwelling elder form never will. By becoming a wholly different animal, each creature spares its own children the burden of rivalry, handing them a doorway into an untouched corner of the world. It is a strange and tender arrangement, this living apart together. One body climbs, one body flies, and the same small life in silence opens two doorways instead of one. So the great rebuilding inside the pupa is not only about wings and new eyes, it is about making peace between a life just ending and one about to begin. Rest with that thought as the night deepens, two lives woven from one, each leaving space for the other, the world silently shared and always making room. To change is to become defenseless for a while, and every creature that transforms must pass through hours when it cannot run, cannot hide, and cannot fight. Sealed inside its pupa, the changing insect is a still parcel of possibility, unable to flee the beak that finds it or the storm that shakes its branch. Everything that once let a caterpillar crawl and bite is being unmade and rebuilt. So for a time there is no working body to carry it away from harm. This is the wager of metamorphosis, to set aside every defense at once, trusting the sealed case and a chosen hiding place to keep watch while the new self forms. Many are lost here, taken by birds, by mice, by wasps that lay their eggs in the helpless pupa, and the odds have always been part of the bargain. The pupa answers its danger with disguise, shaped and colored like a curled leaf, a broken twig, or a bead of bark that the hungry eye slides past. Some hang in plain sight and simply wait, their only shield the stillness that makes a searching predator believe nothing living is there. When at last the case splits open, the danger does not end but merely changes its face, for the moment of emergence is itself a slow and exposed passage into the waiting world. A butterfly steps free with its wings still folded and useless, and only after a long stretch of clinging and coaxing them open can it trust the air to hold its weight. In those first pale minutes it clings where it can, wings drying, body firming, and a single misstep or a sudden gust could cost the whole long effort. The tadpole becoming a frog knows this too, caught for a while between water and land, no longer a swimmer and not yet a sure climber. A crab begins life as a tiny drifting larva, all spines and swimming legs, and only after several molts settles to the seabed and takes the sideways walking shape we know as a crab. Even the newly winged adult that flies well is not yet safe, its fresh colors and clumsy first flights making it an easy mark for practiced hunters. So transformation asks a steep price paid in vulnerability, hours or days when survival hangs on hiding, on hardening, and on a little fortune. And yet the reward answers the risk, for what waits on the far side is a wholly new body opening onto a wholly new world. The one that crawled now flies, the one that swam now breathes air, the one bound to a leaf now roams the whole wide reach of the sky. Across countless ages this exchange has held, the brief helplessness weighed against a second life, and again the second life has proved worth the peril. So the danger is real, yet it is only a doorway, and every creature that dares to cross it steps out changed, ready at last for the wider life waiting on the other side. All around you tonight, unseen and unhurried, countless creatures are remaking themselves, folded away in the dark. They are trusting the world to change them while you rest. In a garden nearby, a chrysalis hangs beneath a leaf, sealed and unmoving. Within that small case, a caterpillar's body is becoming something it has never been. Somewhere, a moth's cocoon of spun silk holds its own slow rearrangement. The threads keep the world out while an older self loosens into a newer one. Under the cool soil, a beetle grub waits in its earthen chamber, neither what it was nor yet what it will be. The ground itself keeps its secret. In still water at the pond's edge, a tadpole is serenely growing legs, while its tail is slowly reabsorbed, its old shape recycled into the frog it is learning to become. None of these transformations are rushed. Each one keeps its own hidden schedule, unfolding at a pace that owes nothing to the hurry of the daylight world. There is an old comfort in the thought that so much change happens in the dark, without effort or striving, simply because the time for it has arrived. You need not watch over any of it. The chrysalis asks nothing of you, and the sleeping grub does its work whether or not anyone is thinking of it. Perhaps that is part of the ease of these hours across the earth. A caterpillar's body is loosening and regathering itself, becoming a butterfly through a quiet, guided rebuilding rather than any true undoing. A caterpillar does not know the wings it is growing toward, and it does not need to know. It only rests inside its case and lets the change arrive. How strange and kind it is that the deepest transformations happen while a body is most at rest, in a stillness that looks from the outside like sleep. The dark is not an emptiness here, but a workshop. What seems like waiting is really the long, careful labor of one life becoming another. Think of the sealed, buried, and submerged lives holding still tonight. Not one is empty inside. Hormones drift through each small body, guiding old tissue as it becomes wing, leg, and eye. The pupa keeps its own counsel, and the season will open it when the time is right. Inside, imaginal cells that waited within the caterpillar are silently shaping wings that were always meant to come. There is comfort, too, in knowing that becoming is not a single moment, but a gradual turning. No creature crosses over all at once. Each is carried across slowly. You are among this company tonight, a resting body in a world of resting bodies, sharing the ancient arrangement that lets the tired be remade by the dark. Let the thought settle over you like a warm hand, that rest itself can be transformation, and that you lose nothing by yielding to it now. So let the unseen work go on around you, tucked in bark and soil and the calm shallows of the pond, while you too rest and change and drift on toward morning. So much change begins in stillness. The buried nymph, the sealed pupa, the sleeping tadpole all wait in the dark, while something new is without a sound made ready within them. To rest in nature is not to stop. It is to become a held breath in which one body loosens its shape and prepares to arrive as another. Notice how transformation rarely happens in bright motion. It gathers instead in the hidden places, under soil, inside silk, beneath still water, where the world grows dim and unhurried. The chrysalis hangs peacefully, sealed and outwardly unchanged, yet inside it a caterpillar is being rebuilt into a creature with wings it has never worn. Within that sealed case, much of the larval body softens into a nourishing fluid, while small clusters of cells long carried inside grow steadily into eyes, legs, and antennae. Those tiny cell clusters, the imaginal discs, waited serenely inside the caterpillar from the start, each one a blueprint that unfolds into a wing, a leg, or an eye of the coming adult. Something tender lingers through it all. Certain memories learned as a caterpillar can survive the great remaking, carried across into the adult that emerges. Beneath the pond, a tadpole rests as its tail is slowly reabsorbed, its material broken down and recycled into the growing body as sturdy limbs emerge to carry a frog onto land. Under the earth, a cicada nymph waits through long seasons, feeding without hurry, its transformation kept for a single climbing night beneath the open sky. Each of these pauses is guided by an unseen chemistry, hormones rising like a tide, telling the body when to hold its shape and when at last to let go. There is a kind of trust in it. The sealed creature cannot see what it is becoming, yet the pattern unfolds anyway, faithful and complete. Consider how darkness serves the work. Shielded from light and motion, the changing body can spend its energy inward on the delicate task of building something whole. Even the axolotl teaches a lesson of rest, keeping its youthful gilled form for life, unhurried, changed only when its own hormones call it onward. The dragonfly nymph climbs from the water at dawn, splits its old skin and slowly frees glassy wings, its long underwater waiting finally opening into flight. When the butterfly first emerges, its wings are crumpled and damp. It pumps fluid gently through them and waits, letting them widen and firm before it dares to rise. So renewal asks for a pause afterward too, a settling into the new shape, a moment of drying and stillness before the changed body meets the air. Perhaps that is the deepest comfort here, that becoming is not rushed. It ripens in shelter and shadow, in the long undisturbed hours where no one is watching. So let this be your own quiet chrysalis, this hush before sleep, where nothing is required of you but rest, and something within is being made ready for morning. As you settle now, let your body grow heavy against the sheets, the way a caterpillar loosens its grip on the world before it folds inward toward whatever comes next. All across the dark garden tonight, small lives are hanging in their cases, trusting the stillness around them to do the slow, invisible work of remaking a whole body. Somewhere near you, a chrysalis waits, its hardened shell holding softened tissue and the tiny cell clusters present since caterpillar days that already know how to unfold into wings. Think of the tadpole resting in the shallows, its tail not lost but slowly reabsorbed, every particle of it recycled into the 4 small legs that will one day carry it onto land. There is no rushing this work. Transformation asks only for time and quiet, and each small creature simply waits inside its shell while patterns already within it slowly find their finished shape. Under the pond's cool surface, an axolotl keeps its feathered gills and its youthful shape for its whole life, content in an unchanging form until a single hormone might one day invite it onward. In hidden chambers of soil and bark tonight, beetles and bees and moths rest as pupae, their old larval selves reorganizing cell by cell into something winged and entirely new. You do not have to do anything to be remade tonight. Sleep will move through you on its own, mending and sorting while your thinking mind steps aside. Consider how a butterfly leaves its case with wings soft and folded, coaxing them slowly open, then holding still in the warm air until they set firm enough to carry it aloft. Even memory can cross this great change. A moth may still carry what the caterpillar once learned, a thread of self-surviving the deepest reworking of the body. Out in the shallow tidal waters, a young flatfish is silently turning, one eye slowly migrating all the way across its face until both eyes look upward together from the sea floor. Let each breath grow longer and easier now, the way a young nymph sheds one outgrown shell after another, becoming a little more fully itself with every unhurried molt it makes. Far offshore beneath the waves, a young eel travels as a sliver of living glass, letting the wide sea carry it toward the distant rivers where its darker hidden life still waits to begin. Nothing here is ever truly erased. Old material simply becomes new. The way your tired hours tonight will dissolve and reassemble into rested muscle and a clearer, brighter, more forgiving morning. The jellyfish understands this too, alternating between a small rooted polyp and a floating bell, one form releasing gently into the next as easily and endlessly as one tide follows another. Feel the whole room soften around you, the covers warm, your thoughts slowly unspooling, everything steady and sturdy enough to hold you safely while the deeper, quiet renewal of sleep begins its work. Let your own night be a gentle transformation, a resting from which you will surely wake renewed, remade in some small and welcome way you may never even quite notice yourself. And so we leave you here among all the changing lives of the earth, each one folding into stillness. Good night from the Circadian Institute, and may you rest and rest well.